The 49ers just got a crazy opportunity. Change is definitely needed. And is the answer for this change in the room? Is the answer in free agency? Is the answer in the 2025 NFL draft? Or do the 49ers need to go out there and figure out another trade? All of that and more on today's video. Hit subscribe if you're looking for daily 49ers content. Genuinely helps me out. But with Deebo Samuel off this roster, the 49ers definitely need to be thinking about a move for a veteran wide receiver. The ultimate long-term savings is $17.5 million per David Lombardi, but that comes at a hit to this season, which leads me to believe the 49ers will probably favor a free agent move or a draft move over taking on somebody else's veteran contract. It's certainly not impossible, but it would seem to me to be more likely that the 49ers go and get a guy on the 49ers' terms, i.e. free agency, draft, etc. Now, I still believe the 49ers need a veteran, so I don't think you can go out there and just draft a Deebo replacement necessarily if you're considering moving on from Brandon Aiyuk. If Aiyuk stays, if he's healthy, you've got Juwan Jennings again, maybe there's a world in which you don't get another veteran. That's an interesting one. Let me know in the comments if you think the 49ers need a veteran, but we're going to talk about both possibilities in this video. A potential Aiyuk deal should be at least referenced here because it's been thrown out there. John Lynch has not denied it. None of that kind of stuff. According to David Lombardi, who knows a heck of a lot more about how all these cap structures, contract structures work out than I do, he believes that the 49ers could benefit upwards of $100 million over the life of the contract with Aiyuk if they were to trade him prior to April 1st. The challenge, of course, being that a team would have to take on Brandon Aiyuk's contract. So the downside there is definitely noted, okay? There are some negatives. If you get past April 1st, things get even way more complicated. In that case, however, it is possible, depending on the suitor, that maybe there's a beneficial trade opportunity out there. So I find it pretty unlikely that Brandon Aiyuk's going anywhere. I just don't think teams are going to make that big of a move this quickly, this early in free agency in just a couple weeks here, less than 2 weeks here, and also do it in such a way with so little known about what Brandon Aiyuk's near-term future is going to look like. So taking on a huge contract, it's going to have immediate cap hits and all of that, not knowing how Brandon Aiyuk, when he's even going to be able to play. So that being said, my best guess is that we are looking for a unique individual with a different skill set to pair nicely with Brandon Aiyuk, Juwan Jennings, and Ricky Pearsall. So we're going to get into 3 different ways that the 49ers could answer this problem, starting with the answer in the room. Of course, you have Juwan Jennings, who's going to be your X guy until Brandon Aiyuk is healthy. So if Brandon Aiyuk will know, hopefully in the next 2 weeks, what the timeline looks like for BA. But if he's healthy, then Juwan Jennings moves back to his normal role and things kind of look pretty normal for the 49ers with BA in the X slot, Juwan Jennings over, or not X slot, spot. Thank you. Juwan Jennings moving over, Slick Rick, of course, doing his thing. Now, in 3 receiver sets, if you don't have Brandon Aiyuk, you're bringing in who? The next guy is Jacob Cowing. Right? You've got Juwan Jennings, you have Ricky Pearsall, and you have Jacob Cowan. And he's going to, hopefully, I would love to see him do more this season. His unique skill set of lightning speed, twitchy, shifty stuff could definitely be really helpful to the 49ers this season. Add to that, of course, George Kittle, and that you need to also add Christian McCaffrey, as well as potentially Isaac Guerendo, who also has history as a wide receiver, loves to catch the ball, will get opportunities this season when he's on the field to catch the ball. So it will be really interesting to see how that plays out. I'm sure if I am Jordan Mason and I'm planning on ending up on the 49ers again, either way, I'm spending a lot of time this offseason continuing to work on pass catching. He did a lot of that last season with the jugs. He got his own jugs machine for the first time and all that good stuff. The 49ers did not target him a ton in the wide receiver game, and we needed that. We were missing that with Christian McCaffrey being out. So I'm anticipating you've got Juwan Jennings, Brandon Aiyuk, Jacob Cowing, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Isaac Guerendo. These are your guys who might be getting thrown the ball at any given moment. There's no Deebo Samuel there, and that's something that there's still a loss there. So I would love to see the 49ers do more than just leave the answer in-house. I don't think that's a great idea. I think we saw at the bottom of the wide receiver available men during the 90-man last year, there were some really obvious names on that list that were not going to be 49ers players. And I would like to see the 49ers wide receiver room, especially under Kyle Shanahan, who's always kind of had a high emphasis for wide receivers. I'd like to see them add one or two other guys for sure, at least. So that being said, we don't have a man beater without Brandon Aiyuk. We don't have an X-man. So if we're going to if we're going to go for somebody else, the next most obvious position would be a free agency move, okay? Just based on how PFF ranks the wide receiver room, including their anticipated contracts, this is where the contract projections, I think, is where the rubber meets the road in this conversation. Would the 49ers absolutely love to have a T. Higgins? Absolutely, they would love that. They would go nuts for a T. Higgins move. But the projection for T. Higgins is a 4-year, $120 million deal, $70 million guaranteed. That's basically another Brandon Aiyuk deal. And I don't think the 49ers are going to do a second one of those. I think the move that they're going to be making is going to be a much more efficient in mindset and focus, because I don't see them doing a double on your wide receiver. I think that's what we're moving on from in some respects with Deebo Samuel, and not nearly as big as Brandon Aiyuk's deal. I don't see them doing that. Chris Godwin's another interesting name. He's projected to have a 3-year, $60 million deal, $20 million average over the life of 3 years, $40 million guaranteed. I think you're moving in the right direction, but still probably a little costly for the 49ers. Amari Cooper is an interesting talent. He's projected to get a 3-year, $30 million deal, $25 million guaranteed. Stephon Diggs is projected to have a 1-year prove-it deal because of his injury. So 1-year prove-it deal at $16 million fully guaranteed deal. Does Stephon Diggs end up as a 49er? I don't think so. I don't see the 49ers making a move for a veteran wide receiver that's coming off of an injury while they're dealing with. They need somebody who's like game ready week 1, ended the season last season in really good form. That's the kind of guy that they need. Number 5, DeAndre Hopkins, 2-year, $20 million deal, $10 million average annual. That feels like the sweet spot pricing wise to me. $10 million guaranteed. I love a deal like that. A DeAndre Hopkins kind of contract, that projected contract range would be more what I'm thinking. There are tons of guys out there the 49ers could move for in free agency. I'm just going to throw a few other names out there. Marquise Brown, Darius Slayton is interesting. Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson, his stock is down after last season, but you could throw a 1-year prove-it deal at him. Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, Elijah Moore is interesting. So there are guys out there the 49ers can move for in free agency that would be all within the 49ers way of structuring contracts. They'd be able to really have their say in how all of that plays out. So I think there are guys, I think that's super interesting and really fun. I would like to see the 49ers make a move for a decent free agent signing, not at the top of the market and definitely not at the bottom of the market. I'd love to see them in the middle there, making a significant investment in a wide receiver, somebody else, and hopefully someone whose skill sets are man beater. We're getting simple. Like, you got to be able to beat the press man. If you can beat the press man, then I think they're worth 49ers going for. But it's not just free agency. Now, let me know in the comments, like, what free agent gets you most excited, and be realistic about it. I know T. Higgins is exciting. I don't think T. Higgins is a realistic move for the 49ers. If it is a realistic move for the 49ers, goodness, let's go. I'm all for it. Like, that'd be sick. But that would basically, if you look at once the Brock Purdy deal is done, you look at the hit from Deebo Samuel's trade. If you did a T. Higgins deal and he gets, if it has any kind of a hit on the first year, they could be clever with it, I suppose. But if it has any kind of a decent hit on the first year, then you could be in a tough spot. So I don't know that they're doing a T. Higgins kind of deal, but whatever. There's also, of course, we should mention before we end this video here, there are draft targets out there. Tet McMillan, was recently projected to fall out of the top 10, which would put him in the range of the San Francisco 49ers per Albert Breer. Ted McMillan out of Arizona, 6'4", 220. This guy has everybody going nuts. I don't even understand how he could fall out of the top 10 except because of everyone else's needs being not wide receiver. But this guy, so many people I've read, listened to, like that just see him as the number one wide receiver in the draft. The only issue I have with Ted McMillan coming to the 49ers is he's an X guy. So he's kind of a guy that, like, if you're planning on keeping Brandon Aiyuk around for some years, if you're planning on re-signing Juwan Jennings for several years, I don't really see him fitting in that exact role personally. But, he could definitely be the future. I've heard several takes that include Ted McMillan being the number one wide receiver, ex-wide receiver on whatever team he signs with, which is a pretty bold take. So we'll have to wait and see about that one. But you've got other guys out there. He's not the only good wide receiver. Matthew Golden, 5'11", 190. He's a smaller dude, but he came out of Texas, went insane and ran a 4.2 40. Everybody knew he was going to be fast, but my word, running a 4.2 40 is something to behold. And when you see it, like, there's not a lot of speed. Like, I remember kind of feeling this way about Xavier Worthy. There's fast, and then there's, like, you see these guys and you're just like, somehow my brain can't tell the difference between 4.4 and 4.49. But when I see a 4.2, I can tell. I don't know why I can see that, but I can see it. So you run a 4.29 40, and when you watch his 40, you're just like, what in the world? That's fast. So you take guys like that. So that's Matthew Golden out of Texas. Then you have Jack Beck, 6'1", 215 out of TCU. Looks like he's just an insane athlete. And you know how much the 49ers love to draft incredible, pure athletic ability. And I just see that in a guy like Beck. So there are guys out there that the 49ers can make moves for. And they have 11 draft picks to play with right now. So there's opportunity to move up, to move back. There's a lot of opportunities for the 49ers to do some crazy stuff on draft day. So make sure you're sticking around, because we are now 53 days away from the 2025 NFL draft. There's going to be a lot to break down, a lot to talk about for weeks leading up and weeks following, no doubt. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Join in the conversation in the comments. I appreciate your guys' takes all the time, and I hope that you guys are having a fantastic weekend.